Okay. Rabotai, Bruchim Habayim. Welcome. Bizrat Hashem Naseh Matzliach V'hu Brachama V'Yaseh Narviach. Only because of Siyat Tishmai there's some sort of success in our life. The truth is, I didn't really want to do this shiur. Be'emet. And I'll be very straight and very honest with everyone here. I be'emet didn't want to do this. And I definitely didn't want to record it. So what was my conclusion? I said, if I record, I never need to do it again. And then as I was preparing this shiur, I realized from what I said last year to this year, there's at least a 50% change in a lot of an add-ons and so on and so forth. So Hashem should give me siyat d'shmaya and I should say the right things. And why am I telling you this? I'll tell you why. Shkoyach. This Shabbos we went away. 30 guys, we decided to have a Shabbaton. We went upstate, we had a great time. And one of the mashpiyim, one of the rabbis there, he's at least in his 50s. He just married one of his daughters. She's 25. In the Hasidic world, he's Hasidic. In the Hasidic world, she's considered a grandmother already. She's considered, quote unquote, she's not a grandma. But for them, if you're not married at that, by the age 20, 21, yesh baya, you have a problem. So he asked me, he said, let me ask you something. Do you do shidduchim? I know you deal with the youth. I said, Rabbi, that's one thing I don't do. When people ask me about shidduchim, about can you set me up, can you do, I say, I don't do that. Why? I'll tell you why. I told him because, unfortunately, the tell of a person, if anytime there is something wrong, they know how to point fingers. And anytime there's something good, they only know how to thank themselves. A person has to be modeh, he has to be a man, and he has to take responsibility. If there's a certain issue in a certain part of someone's life, he has to understand he is part of that situation. You cannot just blame your whole life on somebody else. You can't. And if you're going to do that, that's the first prerequisite of even marriage. Forget about dating. You want to date. Date is all flowers and rainbows, ya habibi. It's only after you date you start to see that it's really rain. The clouds are really rain. It's just a different ball game. You're heading to a different game over here. So a person has to be amiti, he has to be honest himself. You have to be truthful to yourself. And it doesn't make a difference if you're 15, if you're 18, or even if you're 30 years old. If you don't have these few fundamentals that hopefully today we will discuss, this is one of the reasons why you are being ma'akev in your shidduch. If you don't have these certain fundamentals that we will discuss today, and unfortunately, this is one of the reasons why people get divorced too. We will be discussing this specific topic of today, which is Bikitzur, who am I? Who am I? Now imagine you go to the store and you want to buy a suit. So you go to the tailor and the tailor says, go, pick a suit. And you're there, you're looking, and you pick this suit, and you pick that suit, and you pick 6 different suits. And the owner of the store says, okay, which suit do you want? You only want one. You said, I don't know, I'm confused. And he picks one. After he picks one, he goes to a changing room, he says it doesn't fit him. It doesn't fit him! The suit doesn't fit him! Taylor says, ya habibi, what were you doing? You were in the extra large section. You had to go to the slim fit. But what are you doing? No, but I like it. But it's not for you. A lot of us go into shidduchim not knowing ourselves what we want. We're going out, we're going 1 day, 2 days, 10 dates. Oh, it's so beautiful. What's beautiful? She's really beautiful and he's going crazy. But is anything else? Is any of the other check boxes there? No, because you're blinded. So I always say, before you even go on a shidduch, you have to know who you are. How are you going on a shidduch if you don't know who you are? Oh, I'm a neshama. No, that's not what I mean. I know you're a neshama and you're Jewish, and even if you're not a Jew, even if you're a goy, even if goyim, and I know goyim listen to the shiurim. Even if you're a goy, as a human being, you have to know who you are. A cat one day can't get up and say, listen, I want to marry a penguin. Habibi, you're a cat. You can't marry a penguin. You're going to go to the climate of the penguins, you're going to die. The penguins are going to come. The penguins are going to die. Can you just imagine an Israeli cat marrying a penguin? They're worse than dogs. How is it going to be shaykh? It's not going to be shaykh. So first thing you have to ask yourself is, who am I? And this is where everything starts to break down. And Rabotai, for your sake, I think you should take out a phone, take some notes. No, I know men don't have papers and pens, and I'm telling you this out of your benefit because you're not going to remember this. You're not going to remember it. There has to be certain fundamentals that have to be a chok v'lo yavor for you. These are facts that will never be, I will never change my life for them. This is who I am. This is who I am. I remember when I was learning shechita, I thought I was going to make my livelihood on slaughtering cows. That's what I thought. When I was dating, I was young. And I'm not telling you this is the right thing to do, which I think is exactly the opposite. It's the wrong thing to do. But I was very young when I started dating. And the main question that me and my wife now, but at the time, she told me is, how are you going to financially support? How are you going to support? And I said, I'm going to be a shochet. Okay. So I learned shechita. I did the whole thing, the whole 9 yards. And my wife says, I don't think this job is for you. I was like, why? She said, because I don't want you to come home smelling like dead animals every day. Like, that's going to be your job? Or maybe you'll get a job in Chicago that you'll be there half of the month, and half of the month you'll be home. And I don't want you not being at home for half of the month. So you know what just happened? Everything I plan on doing, and I'm good at it. I slaughter animals until today. I do that. And I enjoy every single second of it. My wife told me, you can't do it. She wasn't even my wife yet. Why? Because in her mind, she said, this is not for me. Ze lo b'shvili. Now, I'm not telling you shochet's a good thing or it's a bad thing. It's all relative to what a person wants. I'm going to give you another example. I had a Talmud. Fortunately, Talmidim, we call them, but Lamaisa, a Talmud, someone that listens 100%. He goes on a shidduch, and his greatest fear came his way. I'm not saying this is bad or this is not bad. He was going out with a hairstylist. She was a hairstylist, and he said, I remember from even when I was teaching him in high school, he said, there's one thing I don't want is a girl that's a hairstylist. I'll take anything. Be a housewife. Don't work in a salon. I don't want a girl that works in a salon. Okay. This was his kriza. This is what he wanted. It has nothing to do. This is his thing. He starts to go out. He didn't know she worked in a hairstylist business. After the first day, he said, no, Ani Ma'avir, it's okay, she's a hairstylist. I like it. She's a good girl. Did he really like it? No, he liked her. He liked the way she looked. So what just happened? He was ma'avir on that fact because he didn't hold strong to it. So I sat down and I took through different sfarim and different hashkafot. I was sitting with my Rebbe for a while today. And I came up with around approximately 10 questions that a person should ask himself before you go on any shidduch. Now, I'm going to tell you, honestly, if you're engaged, I wouldn't suggest you to be here. Because I, Chasam, don't want to be the cause of anyone's engagement to be broken, because it happened in the past. Unless you're willing to take the heat. So I gave my fair warning. There's a rabbi, his name is Rav Kavas. He's in Israel, he's in Hidabrut, he's an unbelievable speaker. And he sees a person, an old person that used to come to Shurim, 35 years old. And he says, "No, hitchatanta, did you get married?" And he says, "Look, Kvod Harav, honestly, I feel bad, I didn't get married yet. And I'm not married." So the rabbi, out of his generosity, he started saying, "What are you looking for? You want a datiyah?" He said, yeah, I want dati. אבל לא, אתה יודע, Rabbi, dati, but, not fanatic dati, one of those, the ones that also know how to chill, kind of. Okay. צניעות? בטח, we live in בני ברק, אבל, she's down to earth, when we go on vacation, or at home, suddenly he makes psharot. He's creating an illusion of a human being that will only exist in his head. I call the Jew that wants the best of both worlds. It doesn't go this way. When a person goes to find what is my religious status, and I'll tell you why this is the first thing and the most crucial thing. A person cannot get married with someone that is not in his madriga. It's extremely hard and dangerous. You can't say, I'm going to be Shomer Shabbat when I get married. I know many of these cases, good girls, tzadkaniyot, mamash. And what happens? But Rabbi, he's going to change when he gets married. He promised me, Rabbi. What? Loco? Are you crazy? What do you mean he promised you? First mistake. Where am I holding in my own Judaism? Am I a dati? Am I Mesorti? Am I traditional Jew? Am I a religious Jew? Am I modern religious, whatever that means? Am I chiloni? I want to have a non-religious home. Which is, Torah-wise, it's not okay, but out of your own bechir, if that's what you decide, that is what you decide. No one will change your mind. But you can't say, I want kids that will be tzaddikim, but in the same time, I will be chofshi. So I'm looking for a tzaddiket that she works on her midot. And I'm going to help her work on it. How? I'm going to be chiloni, and she's going to be dati. So I'm helping her work on her midot. And I can do whatever I want, but she will take care of the kids in the family. You crazy? And you know what? You're saying no. 80% of men think like this. This is exactly how they think. They want chofshiyut and HaKadosh Baruch Hu together. You can't have freedom and God together. It doesn't exist. The epitome of God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is restriction. Is to restrict oneself. And to take that restriction and to make it his essence. If a person is not in that scope of view, then why you going out with people that don't match you? People are getting set up with people that are not in their level. And they ask, why can't they get married? You're looking in the wrong place. Of course, if all your chevers are going to be junky and you're looking for a good girl and you're a good guy, who's going to attract you? Rahman litzlan, a junkie. Why? This is your kvutza. It's a very big, important thing. People don't know, but this is who I am, Rabbi. This is who I am. You can't change this. So first thing, you have to understand, where's your Torah level? Where's your religious level? Where am I holding? Am I myself over here, but am I happy? Am I happy over here? Or is there still place to grow? Or I'm not happy and I want even more. Or I'm good. I'm Gucci the way I am. I go, keep kosher, I keep Tzedua modern Orthodox, I keep Shabbat modern Orthodox. I'm happy with being modern Orthodox, no problem. Then find a girl that is modern Orthodox. But you cannot start and looking for a shidduch if you don't know where's your religious level. If you're not there, and if you're not happy the way you are, then you're not ready to go out. You can't say, we'll change together. We'll grow together. No, ya habibi, you'll only grow together if you start together in the same time. You can't do that to yourself. You're crippling yourself. People shoot themselves in the foot by thinking they're going to grow together. Your marriage is not a kiruv case. I want you to understand, you're not doing a Baal Tshuva case over here. Don't say, this is my project, Rabbi. My project is to make my wife choizer b'tshuva. Then you're a dafuk. You're an idiot. You lost your mind. Because it's never going to work. Never. A person has to have that desire for it. He needs to want to do it. And that's the first criteria. Where am I holding in my dati state of mind? Am I in the right place to start shidduchim or I'm not? Okay. Number 2, which people think this is, Rabbi, why are we talking about this, Rabbi? This is 50, not 50, this is like 5 years away, Rabbi. And I'm going to tell you why. You have to understand the way you act and the way you represent yourself. That is exactly, most probably, how your kids are going to start. Your kids will not one day come out of their mother's stomach, out of your wife's stomach, and say, I am Moshe Rabbeinu today. And you are Esav. It doesn't work this way. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. We're not Ashkenazim. We don't believe that the Rebbes started doing muftim at the age of 3. We're Sfardim. We're realistic people. You don't hear stories of the Baba Sali when he was 5 years old. You hear stories of him when he was 30, 40, 50, but not when he was 5. The person has to understand, how do I want my kids to grow? Am I happy with a Dati Leumi yeshiva? Am I happy with after school, picking them out? Chabad, we have them. Am I happy with a Shechter kind of school? From, but not really from, but trying to be from? Am I a so not yeshivish or is yeshivish? I don't know, everyone to their own Havana, how they want to raise their kids. But you must know this fact. And you must ask yourself, do I want my kids to be Bnei Torah or not? Do I want them to be good businessmen? If you're going to go on a shidduch and everything is good, and the wife says, but listen, I want my son to have his own bechira. He can choose whatever he wants. And you want a strictly house of Torah mitzvot, just imagine what's going to happen in 5 years from now. Just imagine. To the extent, which unfortunately we have this in our community very much, very, very much, that the child gets so confused, but mommy says it's allowed, and Abba says it's not allowed. And so what did you just cause? You didn't just cause yourself to be confused and have a bad marriage. You just cause your child to be defective for the rest of his life. To go through the biggest trauma that he's ever going to go through, and he's going to have to, if he's going to be a bardat, he's going to have to repair it when he's going to be 20, 21, 22, 25, through psychology and through mashpia and through yeshiva. Why? Because Abba and Ima didn't do their due diligence before they got married. Because they said, I want to get married, Rabbi. My friends are all getting married. I can't. All my classmates, we go to reunions, I don't go. I feel so embarrassed. I feel embarrassed. How can I go? I'll tell you a beautiful story I heard. I want to share this to the end, really. I'll say it now. There was a student that went to the Ger Rebbe, not the one that's now, to his uncle. And he goes to the Ger Rebbe and he says, listen, I want to get married. It's not fair. I'm 35. You should know, in the Hasidic world, 35 is beyond grandpa for a man. You're like a pradedushka. You're like a pra. Like, you're supposed to see Mashiach already. Like, what are you, 35, still single? What's going on? Something's not right. So the Ger Rebbe looks at him and says, let me tell you something. When I heard this story, this I want to send you to the end here. I got goosebumps. He said as follows. He said, the Hasidim get me a nice car, so whenever I travel, I should have comfortability. It's mechubad for a rabbi to go in a nice car. In Israel, if you have a BMW, you're a chashiv. In Israel, if you have a BMW, you're chashiv. Mercedes are not chashiv over there. A BMW. So the Rebbe goes, he says, whenever I'm stuck in traffic in Israel, whenever I'm stuck, and I see one of those tutus, those tutus, those guys, they drive all over the street, they're cutting people. Do you think for 1 second I get jealous of them? But I'm stuck in traffic here. I'm stuck. I'm right here. I'm not moving. There's pkakim. There's traffic. I'm middle of Bnei Brak. But this little car, this thing, flying. He passes everybody. Would I get jealous? Of course not. You're in a BMW. He wishes to be in your shoes. And the rabbi, the Admor said, don't ever feel jealous that someone in your eyes is getting further and you're not. Because in your sphere, you are in a BMW. The Torah says, Lo tahmod, do not be jealous. And then it goes into detail. Don't be jealous on your friend. Don't be jealous on his wife. Don't be jealous on his donkey. Don't be jealous on his ox. Don't be jealous on his slave, male and female. And don't be jealous on anything that he has. Everyone asks a question. Why does the Torah go in singular form and then goes in a plural form? Why didn't the Torah just say it at one time and call it a day? And I heard a beautiful pshat from Rav Zamir Cohen. He says as follows. You know, a person, when you look at someone's life, we only look at their good. He's making a lot of money. Look at him. How did this little malakasios, how did he do it? How did he do it? How was he so successful? I went to school with him. He was the most dumbest, annoying kid. How was he so successful? Look, he's married. Wow. Ya Habibi, look at this. How did he do? We all thought he would never get married. That was the kid we thought he would never get married. And they're going and they're saying, Rabbi Sai, do you know this guy's full picture? Are you willing to take all his machalot and all his challenges too? You're not willing to take it. So why do you have jealousy? You have jealousy because you're only looking at the things that you want and not realizing there's a whole picture over there. Lo tachmod, the Ger Rebbe said. He said, don't be jealous on anyone's success and anyone's mitkadem. Because when you become jealous, you get blinded from what you have to do, what's your mission. Because you're too busy worrying about his mission, and this one's mission, and that one's mission. And then really your shoes are empty. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. You're not focusing on yourself. Who am I? You're not saying. You're looking at everyone else. So for all those people that are in an older age, an elder age, and they're thinking, I'll never get married, I have no shidduch. There was a story about Rav Chaim Kanevsky. Unbelievable story. How a guy, also in his 30s, he was a litai. In the Litvish world, they are matmidim, they learn all day. He had a dira, he had an apartment already at this age. He was a handsome guy, he was a lamdan. No one wanted him. He couldn't find the shidduch. So he goes to Rav Chaim Kanevsky, and Rav Chaim Kanevsky looks at him, and he said, why am I not getting married? And Rav Chaim said as follows, I'm going to answer you, but you can't ask me why. That's the deal. If you don't ask me why, I'll give you the answer. So the guy was hesitating, said, yeah, what is it? And Rav Chaim Kanevsky looks at this guy and says, your shidduch you have no shidduch. It's not around. You can imagine being 35, you got hat kafad lev. Oh, I don't have a shidduch. What, Rabbi, what's going on over here? She means I wasted 35 years on going out with people for nothing? 15 years, whatever the case is. What? And the Rav said, I told you can't ask me why. Get out. Get out. 3 months later, he got married. Why? She was a Gioret. She converted 3 months ago. Rav Chaim Kanevsky, when he looked at him, he said, I don't see a shidduch for you. She's not born yet. He made the cheshbon. Imagine she's not born yet. Let's say she would be born now, right? I would wait, 20 years? I would be 45 years old, 60 years old, sorry. I would be married young guy and call me pedophile. Another case, I'd have to go to jail. Not knowing, what was the Rav saying? Your shidduch's not around. She's a gioret. Her neshama didn't come down to the goof yet. What are you worried about? We're so interested in looking for babot, you know. I had a friend, not a friend, I had a Talmud. He's not married yet. He comes, he's like, Rabbi, forget about it. The shidduch's not going to work. I said, what happened? I called a rabbi in Israel. He opened the book. He opens books. Rabbis, you don't know these rabbis. They open books. You know, sometimes when they open, birds come out and elephants come out. Mikubalim, admorim. They're flying, these rabbis. Flying. They're the best. I said, okay, what do you say? Lo matimim, we don't match. He said, we don't match, Rabbi. We don't match. That's it, I have to break the shidduch. I was like, you're engaged. How can you break the shidduch? Because a rabbi opened the book, the rabbi knows what he's saying. Who's this rabbi? What is this? No, the rabbi made the math. He took my name, he took her name, and he was doing math. I'm very happy. He knows how to do basic math. Very good. Kol hakavod lo. He got a basic education. That doesn't mean anything. You know, before I got married, also people opened books. They said we don't match. I promise you, true story. I still married. You want to know why? Because if a person's not going to do tikkun midot, he's not going to work on himself, and he's not going to figure who he is, doesn't make a difference what happens. HaKadosh Baruch Hu could come down with Eliyahu Navi and all the avot and say, Ya Habibi, this is your shidduch, you'll get divorced. Because getting married is an avodat pnimi. It's something you have to work on. And this starts before you even start dating. Okay. So number 2. Talk to me, what?
Avodat pnimi, I don't know if everyone understands.
Avodat pnimi is an inner work. It's an inner work. It's a self-work. Okay, number 2. How do I want my kids to be? How do I want my kids to be? This is very important. And, you know, I remember, unfortunately, I didn't do this before I was married. And I remember after I got married, I sat down with my wife and we had these conversations. And Baruch Hashem, we fell under the same page, but what a big klala, what a big chirum would it have been if me and her had different ideologies on this. It would have been the end of the marriage. Why? I don't want to have a datili umi life. I don't want my kids to go to my in-laws' house and they say, Novi God! L'chaim, Happy New Year. I need this. I need this nonsense. Imagine such a thing. And you're gonna go, top governor over there. And you're gonna go, right? And you're gonna go, only whoever's in the shurim understand this. And you're gonna go, and you're gonna ruin your life. So a person has to understand, how do I want to raise my kids? What is my perspective? What am I looking? Of course, nothing is set in stone. But if you're gonna go, on a shidduch, on a date, and the guy's gonna say, listen, I went to public school, nothing's wrong with it. It's perfectly fine. Now, that can be his opinion, and he has the right to have that opinion. But if the girl says, Ya Habibi, this is not for me. He can be handsome, he can be successful, but I don't want my kids going to public school. It's a done deal. Don't make psharot. You know what people do? You know where you fall into problems? When you start to find a reason for their excuses. Because she had a good time in public school, so how about if I show her that it's not good? Maybe that will change her mind. And society, they're teaching people to change their genders. That wasn't in her time. No. She doesn't want. Shalom aleich nafshi. We're not made for each other. We're done. We're not made for each other. This is not the way I want to have my kids. Because these are things that you have to set in stone. Now there's something that I'm going to tell you that you're going to think, why Rabbi, you're really fanatic. But this is a true thing. Especially in the 21st century. Number 3, the third question. Electronics at home. Now anyone that's not really married will not understand this. Someone that is married will understand this. And this has nothing to do with being religious or not. I want you to understand this. Nothing. 0. My religiousness is not biased to these questions. At all. To the extent that the Goyim are saying, when people bring these things to their house, it makes an effect to their marital communication. To the way they act towards one another. Forget about the kids right now. Forget about that. Everybody said, forget about that. That's chirum on its own. How would you like it if your spouse is stuck in the bathroom for 1 hour with her phone? Or the opposite, he's with his phone. How would you feel? Newlywed couple. He's not there, or she's not there because they want to be there. They're on their phone. Apparently, they're using the restroom and they keep on swiping like a devil. Wow. Suddenly, they look at the time. 1 hour. You don't realize your feet are numb. You don't realize she's screaming downstairs. You don't realize any of this. Why? Because you're so indulged in this garbage that they brought to this world, and you're doing like this. You have to ask yourself this question. Maybe there's no problem. Maybe you're gonna allow to have a phone. Or maybe you're not going to allow to have a TV. This has nothing to do with religion. This has to do how you want to bring up your family. This is how you want to have a normal hashkafic house. And if for you to have a TV and all the electronics are acceptable, then by all means have it. By all means accept it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what are the things that you have to make a decision now that will affect you in the next 15, 20, 30, what 15? Chas shalom. In the next 80 years that you're going to be living with a person. To ask her on a date, what's your favorite color, is very nice. Mamash, very nice. But that's not going to change anything. I guarantee it to you. Nothing. Zero. It's not going to change anything. You're like, blue, I also like blue. Wow, we match. What? Because of a color? Unbelievable. This even Chidushim Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know, and he knew everything. Okay. Not that I'm saying not to ask. You should ask. It makes them feel good. But that's not the ikar. Don't go in with a... I know people that... I saw one guy... He was confronting me before he goes out on a date. He was like, Rabbi, I want to see the questions I prepared. I said, okay, what's your favorite color? What do you think about this? Such to your thing. I was like, and how does any of this affect your life? Is your color of your bed or the color of your walls going to be color purple or green or orange? So why is this even talked about on the first date? Like, what's going on? Ya Habibi, what's wrong with you? He's like, I'm trying to find conversation. Yeah, about a color, right? Very good. Like, these are, again, I got stuck on the color thing. But no one likes to go on repetitive dates that you know that it's not going to work out. No one likes it. Get to the point. Don't waste time. There's no point of catching feelings. It's not even feelings, it's catching tava. Halev chomed, ha'inayim ro'im halev chomed, v'amoch olech baladan. The eyes see, the heart desires, and your head starts to go crazy. To avoid all this, you have to come in with a foundation of your own wantings. Okay, that was number 3. Number 4. Number 4 we'll do a little later. Let's skip to, this is, let me just make a start here. I don't think you guys are ready for this at the moment. This also. No, it's okay. They don't need to be in order. Okay. Number 4, Bonagid. Number 4, right? Baruch Hashem, that Klal Yisrael is becoming together. Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, Hasidim, all one. And as we come one, there's a lot of mixed cultures, different customs coming into town. Something that we're not used to, or something we are used to about. And one of the things that a person has to realize, which is a very vital thing, and a lot of men have this problem, a lot of girls also have this problem, is when a man wants to learn Torah all day. This is my conclusion. This is what he decided. I'm going to be a Bachur Yeshiva. I'm going to be a Koil guy. Or he says, no, I'm going to be a person that's going to work. That's something that you have to have a solid conclusion before you start going out. You must. You can also give yourself a time. When I got married, I told my wife I'm going to Koil. But the second I see that that's not enough, I'm getting up, I'm going to work. That's what I did. Now I'm not telling you guys should do this. That's not what I'm saying. If the girl automatically says, "Ya Habibi, I don't want a guy that's gonna learn Torah all day. I want a guy that works and learns. That's what I want. That's what I desire." Ya Habibi, at that moment you have to say, "This shidduch is not for me. It's not." Do not try to convince her how much Torah you love, because it's not going to make a difference. And I know chaverim, I had friends that were supposed to be what matmidim. If they would still be in yeshiva now, they would be, I'm telling you, they would be big things. Because they didn't figure this out before, they assumed. Religious house, religious guy, they assumed After the first year of kollel, she forced him to go to work. His learning career was done. In his mind. Why? Because these weren't topics that they discussed beforehand. It's extremely important. Extremely important. And I've seen a lot of yeshiva guys burn because of this. And not because the girl is wrong. I never said that. It's because these topics weren't discussed beforehand. Could be a guy that's very successful in business says, listen, ya habibi, I don't know, I'm in cash advance. I'm a very successful cash advance. I have my own office. I'm barely home. You're going to have to accept my work schedule. But, this is how they catch the girl, but you'll always be spoiled. You don't have to worry about it. I'll be a full-time worker. You don't never have to work. You just have to stay home. You know how many girls fall into that trick? It's unbelievable. I love it. This is the number one cause of most problems. If the girl says, Ya habibi, I don't want this. I want a normal husband. I want a husband that knows how to differentiate his time and his business and differentiate his time at home. Of course, down the line, a woman or a man has to be understanding to see my husband's building a business, he's building a career for the family, and there is some misirut nefesh on both parties, and everyone agrees to this. Everyone agrees to this. You have to be open-minded as well. You can't be a closed box. You can't say, today I'm doing this much, but I want to expand in my life and my business. But I know she's so stubborn on it, there's no point. I'm not going to be able to grow in my needs, if it's learning, if it's finances. So it's not going to work. We have to understand this fact that when a person goes, even if he's gonna dedicate himself fully to learning or fully to work, these things must be discussed. They must. I know myself this year 2 shidduchim engaged. A month and a half before the wedding, they had to break it off. A month and a half. Why? Because they didn't discuss a small little detail to do with finances. And unfortunately, I'm saying this, in our community we have it the worst, and I'll tell you what I mean. I never heard of such a thing that the future bride and groom have to set up their whole wedding. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing we have in our community. They're getting married, ya habibi. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. The parents, they don't want to speak or they don't want to get involved. They don't want to be in the middle, so they throw everything on the kids. And the kids, miskenim, they're supposed to have the time of their life right now. They're engaged. The best time of your life is engagement. No responsibilities, but yet you have everything complete. And instead, what happens? All the problems on their head. And they're over there too busy worrying what's this. The girl just has to know one thing. I have to prepare my dress. I have to look beautiful for that day. And the guy has to know I have to do more mishrut nefesh until the day I get married. And instead, all the wedding planning and all the searching for all the crazy things is on their head. And you know what? How many fights come out because of this? Ask any person that got married, especially in this community, ask, were you about to break the shidduch before you got married? He'll tell you yes. Because the stress of things that weren't supposed to be on their head ended up on their head. Why? Don't do this mistake for your kids. I beg you. Don't do it. You're going to have kids one day, you will have. Don't do this mistake. You get them married, you're getting them married, be a normal father and be a normal mother and take responsibility and plan the wedding. Make the arrangements that will make them happy. Why chitzoni? Why negative? Why negative vibe always? You don't need this. Oh, it costs a lot of money. Who asked you? You want me to get married, no? Marriage is supposed to be a time when you have to ball out in a way. Whatever that means to each person is different. But to make it into a depressing thing, for what? Why? Why does the couple have to go in and they should pray that until the wedding everything should go smooth and it shouldn't break off? It's extremely scary. So that's number 4. Number 5, which is very important, is that person has to know what he's interested in. What do you do in your spare time? What are your hobbies? I tell you what's the nafkamina. I tell you. There are some people that are outside people. They love it. They love fishing. They love hunting. They love to do all camping. They like to do all the diwanagi. They love it. This is their life. You can't blame them. This is how Hashem created them. And some guys, ya habibi, when they go on vacation, they just want one thing. They want the beach and the bed. The beach and the bed. And there's a girl that says, listen, I'm into painting. I like my corner. You leave me alone. Now, you can't get a guy. It's very difficult. I spoke to a Shatran about this. This was his case. The girl is chole sports. She loves sports. That's what he told me. He's a Shatran. The girl knows every single baseball player out there, knows every single football player, knows every single soccer team. She's crazy of sports. The guy doesn't even know how to hold a bat. If he would want to knock her out one day, he won't even know from what end to hold it. He said the first date they went on, she was only talking about baseball. He was there like devil, like, now what? What do I do? Yeah, I understand people go through this. Sometimes you go to a date and you're like, yeah, papa, like oh man, there's nothing there. Like there's mamish nothing there. And then you have to fake it. Yeah, I remember one time in camp I went to baseball, and she's so good. She knows all the history. Yeah, what year? You're like, I don't know. You know what I mean? You have to come to a conclusion. Like, do we have the same similarities on things that we don't, that we do on our free time? How are you gonna live? Of course, once you're married, it's a whole different ball game. You have to cope with it. You have to work on your midot. Some things you do like, some things you don't like. You have to know how to go over your yetzer. You have to know how to discuss things. You have to learn how to keep things within the family. That things shouldn't come out of the family. That's another thing. That's another shlaf. But beforehand, if you know she has a certain desire for certain things, like, where are you going? You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna work. Okay, number 5. Number 5. Oh, Hashem Yishmor. Number 5. No, be'emet, Hashem Yishmor. Unfortunately.
Was the hobbies not 5?
Yeah?
Hobbies.
No, hobbies was 5. Correct. This is number 6. Where do you want to live? Where would you like to live? No, it's a big question. You see? Guy that's a little older knows that unfortunately a lot of things had to be broken just because of that question. Where do you want to live? For example, I'm the youngest child of the family. As a young kid, my parents drilled it in my head, we are your responsibility. Go kill yourself. This is the way it works in this family. I knew it. This is that. There's nothing I can do about it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me this responsibility because Hashem gave it to me that I can handle. And He gave me a wife that's an Eshet Chayil that can also handle it. And through time, I knew I'm not leaving Queens. There's no question. Not only am I not leaving Queens, my father's so much that I shouldn't even leave. I shouldn't live. Forget the zip code. I shouldn't live further than a 4-block radius. Can you imagine such a thing? Can you imagine? HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it that my wife lives a block away from me. You want to know why? She also wants to stay next to her parents. So imagine I would go out with a girl from another state or from another town, right? And she would say, Habibi, we're moving there. And I'm infatuated in love with her. What would I do? I would be stuck. So besides all these things that we're doing, we have to understand something. There is major siyata d'shmaya from Shemayim. Major. There's a major siyata d'shmaya. Now, you know where I live? Me and my father share a wall. I bought a house. I'm his neighbor. It's my dad's door. This is my door. Yeah, can you imagine such a thing? How HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers the tzaddikim. My father's a tzaddik, and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered him. But if my wife would say no, I would never be able to live there. Never. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to allow it. Why? Because in our minds, ourselves, we had what? A conclusion. We're living in a certain vicinity. We're living in a certain place. Right now, I have a shidduch. Right now, the guy called me to go to speak to his parent, to go to speak to his parents. Two things. The second thing I'll tell you later. She wants to move to 5 towns, and I want to stay at Main Street. What do we do? What do I do, Rabbi? Rabbi, I'm stuck. He said, my parents and her parents have nothing to do with this. I want to stay here, and she wants to move there. Rabbi, what do I do? Rabbi, help me. They want to get engaged already. They want to get engaged. They didn't speak about this in the first day. They didn't even make a conclusion. Can you imagine such a thing? Why didn't you speak about it? I told him, why didn't you speak about it? I should talk about where I'm going to live, Rabbi. First I have to see if I like her. I said, boy, first you have to know if you guys connect. And not chemistry, before that, you have to see if you're compatible. Let's say you, God forbid, you need blood one day, right? What's your blood type, Bonagi? I don't know. Let's say you're a positive, right? And you get the wrong blood type. You're going to say to the doctor, wait, I have to first see if the guy I'm getting the blood from, are we compatible? Do we click? Or I'm dying, please put the blood inside. You can always call me, I have O negative, I'll give you blood. Put it inside, Rabbi, put it inside. That's what you tell the doctor. You're not going to say, does me and the donor click? We have to first know if we click, Rabbi. We need chemistry. God, what chemistry? You're going to die. How can you go on a date, you want to get infatuated in love and have a chemistry, but you don't know if you're even going to, if there's anything to talk about. If there's anything to talk about. But Rabbi, it's going to be too dry, Rabbi. It's going to be too dull. It's my fault you don't know how to speak. That's not my fault. That's on you. That has nothing to do with me. That has to do with the person. You are chacham. You're a giver. You're a man. A man has to know how to take anything and make it into gold. Anything. We're not talking about dating. We're first talking about this. Dating, we have no time for that. The 7th question. So you got the 6th one? It's clear? Do you think these questions are important, or am I wasting my time?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you think that some of these questions should be split up into a first date and a second date, or they should all be asked first?
So you're asking an amazing question.
Because I think it's a little bit intense. But it's a personal thing.
I'll answer you after all the 10 questions. She's right, but I'm gonna answer you after I give you all the 10 questions. I'll explain to you. Okay, number 7. This is more for a different sect of people, but I'll say it anyways. How do you want your wedding? I'm not talking about religious or not religious. I'm talking about vision. You know, people don't see how crucial this is. It's extremely crucial. I don't know if you know, how much is a chair nowadays?
3 bills.
3 bills? Yeah? 3 bills for what? For eating in the smoker's bar and getting full and going to the wedding and not eating anything. That's what you're paying 3 bills for. But okay, shh. That's why I don't eat in the smoker's bar. I wait for the whole. Just for the kavod of the wedding, you know?
But real talk, you get circled back.
I know. Wait, we know this already. This is old news. Okay. Now, you ask the girl, how do you imagine your wedding? And she remembers she watched one time Disney, and she saw Cinderella. And she wants a Cinderella / Snow White wedding. And you know, Behemet, you know, ain't no Cinderella and ain't no Snow White. The only thing about Snow White you're gonna have is the dwarfs. And for Cinderella is the one shoe that you can have. That's the only thing, right? So you have to be. This question is more for the Ashkenazim, not for the Sfaradim. Because by us it's more bodegi who can do a better wedding. It's a different caliber. But by the Ashkenazim, it's extremely important because their chairs are not $300. Their chairs are $25, $30. Huh? There is, yes. They also have 100. They also have 150. 300 they don't have. Impossible. I'm in the field. They don't have. When they come to our weddings, their mouth drop. Like, what's going on over here? It's like 6 weddings in one. This is this. Rabbi, wasting money. Rabbi, it's Idoka. You know those things? I deal with them all day. Baruch Hashem. Ashkenazim are the best. Okay, to find out what's the image of a wedding. These are very important. You might not think, but they are. They're important. Number 8. There's 10. Does he smoke and does he drink?
Whoa.
Now all the men said, all the women said yes. Does he smoke and does he drink? Now smoking can be broken down to different categories. Everyone use their imagination. I don't even think I need to speak about this topic because everyone knows the severity of such a thing. And maybe the men don't see it, but normal women don't want to come home and see their husband have a bottle of over here and sipping it and say, oh, I had a very stressful day. Oh, don't bother me. I need my space. And he goes downstairs, rolls up a joint and smokes it, and then comes home, sits down. Where's the food? I'm hungry. Of course, you just drank the whole bottle. You just smoked. You have all the munchies in the world, and you expect the waiter to come in with a nice food, say, here, my love, here's your food for you. Whoa. Ya Habibi, she's not a slave, and she's not a dog, and she's not an animal either. She's a human being, and she's your wife. And the way you treat her, that's the way your kids are going to treat your wife. And if not, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. You do have to discuss these topics. And I would expect you to discuss it not in the first date, but in the second date. Why? Because if all the red flags are already there on the first date, you don't need to know such a crucial thing. You don't. But maybe she's going to say, Rabbi, I don't see anything wrong with smoking. He can smoke if he wants. That's her choice. Or she says, listen, occasional drinking is not a problem. I don't mind it. What's the problem going out with friends or going out to a wedding or you're my father's house? If that's what you wish, that's what you wish. That's your desire. I fully agree to it. And these things have to be spoken about. These are extremely important because you don't know, maybe you do know, I don't know, of course you know, the damage that an alcohol and marijuana can do to a person. Not to him personally, but to the family. And all of us have someone in the family that's a drunk. They have it. Maybe not look like it, but once they start drinking, they can't stop drinking. And they're not a happy drunk, they're a mean drunk. Those are the worst drunks. Those are the drunks that you go to their house for Shabbat, you're like, I am never coming back to this house in my life. And this is extremely important. It's an extremely important thing. I promise to you, all you men, you wouldn't want your daughters to go out with someone like that. So don't ever in your life think for 1 second that it's abnormal for a girl not to accept certain things. Because I'm telling you, when you're going to have your daughter, I don't need to say what you're going to do. Where's that? You're going to learn how to use a bat. Yeah, I mean, that guy's going to learn how to use a bat after such experience, right? It's your Hashem. Yeah, okay, but listen, this is your kids, right? Why is your kids any better than your future wife? If your wife is the queen, then you have princesses and princesses. If your wife is the maid, then you have a bunch of slaves. And slaves always rebel. Always. But you have princesses and princes, they continue your legacy. And that all depends how you treat her. What is your mind for her? You shouldn't even expect her to agree to it. That's the pshat. Okay. Number 4 and 5. Now these questions are good. Which is really 9 and 10. Number 9. How, which I think is extremely important, if not the most, kimat the most important thing. How is the person that I'm going out with, how do they speak? Are they ghetto speakers? Are they slang speakers? Like, when I became a Hatzalah member, I was sitting in the room with a whole bunch of medical professionals. I was lost out of my brain. They're throwing terminologies in medical where I'm like, what is going on, Rabbi Sai? I just left yeshiva. I don't know any of this. And they're throwing bone names and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, I'm lost. Imagine going on a shidduch and the only thing you hear is a slang in ghetto language. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't need this. I don't want this. Every word is another curse. And another, I'm better, and ba. Okay, good for you. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Have a nice day. Because you don't want that in your life. Because you think your kid... I had a friend one time. Shem Yishmor V'Rachem. It's not the parents' fault. I had a friend. He's a good friend of mine. He had a younger brother. He taught his younger brother that was 3 years old to stick his middle finger and say the F curse. When he sees people, F you, like... Imagine it! I don't know. I was maybe 6th, 7th grade. I go to his house for the first time, a little kid's going, F you. Whoa! Like, whoa, you know, like, what's going on over here? Yeah, it was funny, we were young. He knows the curse. The kid didn't know anything, he's a nebuch. The little kid, what does he think? He's making everyone happy. He has good intentions. Little does he know, as this kid grows, he's starting to realize, Tab Gavno, but at the end of the day, that's what happens. That's what happens, right? Hey, he wants to be like that Rasha Merusha that lives in another country, right? He thinks he's right, yeah. He thinks he's the best of all best. Avi Avoda Tuma. That Tab Gavno. Don't get confused. Now he got it. He was like, who am I talking about? I don't like to say his name in the shul. He's Avi Avoda Tuma. Do you understand? You come to that ideology. You have to figure out how does the person speak. And you should know something. It's so scary. It's extremely scary. You have a good. I know everyone's question, Rabbi. You can never tell that. When you're dating, you can never tell that. Never. But you could, and I will hopefully tell it to you, maybe next year or the year after. But there's a way to tell it like this, automatically. Automatically. The Gemara tells you even how to tell it. Everything that I'm saying is written in the Torah. Everything. I'm not here to make hamtzaot. This is not hamtzaot. Trust me, I have better things to do in my life. The last question, number 10, is how does he represent himself? Or how does she represent herself? And I'm going to explain to you what I mean. Rabbi, we had this conversation 2 weeks ago, that's why I'm mentioning it. Rabbi, if I'm at home, why do I have to cover my hair, Rabbi?
Why you have to?
Rabbi, why do I have to? I'm home, Rabbi. It's just for my husband. So what if my kids are running around? So what? Now, if that's the way you want to express yourself, do that. But if your husband is makpid and says, I don't want my daughters to see how mommy walks like that, then they're going to make kalut rosh. They're going to make this whole mitzvah into a joke.
Won't they see how she walks outside?
Now, take this for an account. I want you to think of this. Take a father, right? He goes to shul, shliapa, costume, he has a hat, he has a tie ready. He even has the gartel, he has a beard from here to Shamayim, all things. He has everything. The second he walks through the door, he goes to his wife, he starts cursing. Demone, why didn't you start the table already? How do you think the kid's gonna feel? Tzaddik, Russia. Yaakov, Esav. Which one? Which one? So you know what you just did? You created a defective child at that moment. That's exactly what you did. Because the child doesn't know what's going on. Mommy's sending her, she looks up at it when she's outside. She comes home, she's like, what's going on?
How's she being like Esav like that?
No, you're not understanding. She is Esav or not Esav, that's not the point. I was talking about the guy.
No, I understand, but you're comparing...
When a girl, no, when a child, or even a husband, first of all, for a husband it's an erva, halachically it's an isur. I'm not going to get into that. I didn't want to bring Torah into this topic. That's why I didn't bring it down. Halachically, if a woman covers her hair outside, you have no right to say a bracha or learn Torah, say Kriyat Shema in front of her. Did you know that? Halachically. Why? Because that's considered an erva. It's considered a place which is only secluded for her husband. Erva means something that's secluded, something that's holy, something that's designated for her husband.
You can't take Kriyat Shema next day?
No,
If she covers her head?
he's not allowed.
She's supposed to get out.
If no. Okay, you're asking about a different topic. A different topic. You're asking about in Chidrei Chadarim, which we're going to talk about right now. That's a question you ask when you get married, or before you get married. It's once you're engaged. But beforehand, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about regularly. My wife told me. Listen to this story. There was this girl that needed a lady that needed a Yeshua. She needed a salvation. There was something problem bothering her. She told my wife, I promise you, the second I walk out of that, I come home from work, I take my wig and I throw it. Frisbee. I hate it. There's no air, Rabbi. She goes, da, 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 da. There's no air. I need free. Okay. She had a problem getting a certain something. I don't know if they want me to say. Not kids. She had kids, everything. Something financially. The second she took it upon herself, the next day, the Yeshua came to her. Now, I'm not telling you these stories because I have nothing better to do. And this is not a religious class. This is a class how to find... One second, thank you. This is a class how to detect between what you want and what you don't want. If the guy says, for me, this is a no-no, and he tells you this before you get married, and you agree to it, remember that you agree to it. I want you to understand this fact. Now, it could be that you're going to want your husband to always look presentable, whatever that means to you. You shouldn't come home downstairs when everyone's home with boxers. Like, what's going on over here? Like, we're going plavki, we're swimming, we're going to the shower. Like, why are you walking down with boxers in front of everybody? Now, for a normal wife, yeah, that should bother her. Why? Because you don't want your kids to not have the idea of being modest, not have the idea of being reserved in a way. Why? Because for most people, it's normal. Guys, it's a normal thing. Rabbi say it's not normal. It's not normal. I want you to understand, these things are really not normal. They're not. They're pashut not normal. I'm going to give you a story someone told me. I have to say this story. It's a Geshmaka story. I think someone told it to me. I think I know where the source of the story. It's a gracious source, but I'll tell it to you anyways. A guy gives his girlfriend, or wife, whatever, any way you want to call it, he gives her $20. He says, go to the store and go pick up my medications. She waits online. She gets the medication. She gets back to the car and she gives back the $20 to her boyfriend. He's like, what happened? Why didn't you spend the money? Oh, don't ask. There was a guy that was right behind me. He said, I look pretty. Can I pay for your medications? And the guy looked and said, what? Well, guy, who's this guy? And they're arguing. She said, what's the big deal? I didn't do anything wrong. I saved you money and I got a compliment. Like, it's a win-win. It's a win-win situation. And he comes out of the car and she says, where are you going? Oh, I see a beautiful girl. I want to pay for her things. That's the kind of life most people live. Why? Foundations are not stuck to the ground. It all becomes a competition in the house. Who's going to hurt the other one's feelings? Why? Because their foundations were not put down properly. Their desires and their vision of how they want to grow and raise a family is not done properly. And you come, Rabbi, why is this important? Of course it's important. You're going to spend the next 80 years with this person. Do you not think this is important? Do you cloud your judgment through beauty only? And don't get me wrong, if she's not attracted to you, stop, drop, and roll. But with derech eretz, you have to say, it's just not for me, whatever the case is. You have to have a physical attraction. That's not even a question. Whoever thinks that's a question, he has to think straight. You must find a physical attraction towards your future spouse. You have to. These, for me, I want to elaborate more on the 10th question. How does a person represent himself? It could be you'll become very chozer b'tshuva or not, whatever the case is, and you're not gonna respect. There's a certain the way first impressions play a big role in a person's life. When you're married, every single second is considered a first impression. The second your wife loses your respect in your eyes, that's the second your life starts to go down. Why? A woman, in her nature, she wants to please. She wants to please. That's her teva. That's why there are more people persons. That's why they work in education. They're nurses. They're in topics that are not secluded. Just they have to be with people. They are people pleasers. That's the way Kadosh Baruch Hu created a woman. There's nothing you can do about it. Child's crying. The husband can be in bed for 30 minutes and say, "It's music to my ears." The mother just walks in from the house after a whole day of work, night shift, she'll run upstairs to take care of the baby. Why? What happened? Because in the woman's nature, she feels for it. A father's like, "Don't worry, it's going to make him strong. I know it. It's good for his lungs." Why? That's his nature. If a man does something and he starts to lose that respect towards the person, that's when all the destructions happen. And representation is key. I'm married to her for so many years, Rabbi, she understands my jokes. I speak to her after 20 years. Do you get offended when I do certain things? Yes. How come you never told me? I decided to live with it. That's the biggest chirur. That's when all the destruction, you realize why things are the way they are. But when you start working on yourself, this is already after you get married. That's when everything comes back. The respect, the love, and so on and so forth. But if you don't have your fundamentals of your foundations, how you want to live your life, you're done. You're going into a dragon's den and you will be burnt. They will burn you so crisp, you won't even have a sense of memorization. And people that go on a repeated cycle of this, I was listening to another shiur. The rabbi was telling me how there's a guy that was so fed up with going on dates, he used to send a recording of the first date to her. He said, "Before we go on the first date, I want you to know everything about. I'm so sick and tired of repeating the first date all over again. Just here's a recording, listen to it. If you like it, I'll go out with you for a second date." Because Rabbi said, you're laughing. There are people with sarot. There are people that are suffering from this, and they don't know why. And the answer is because they don't know themselves yet. Of course, if you're going to go to the store and you're not sure what you're going to eat, you're going to roam around the store for 30 minutes. But if you know there are guests in your house and you're making a barbecue and you just need bread, you go into the store, you buy the bread, and you bounce. Why? Because you know what you want. So I'm going to conclude with this. The last thing, besides these 10 sheilot, each one has to maneuver and ask, maybe there's another question that's very important for me, and so on and so forth, is everyone has those no-nos. Whatever for you is your no-no, you have to make sure you have it on a foundation. I'll tell you an example. For me, what was one of my no-nos? I told my wife, I'm never shaving in my life. The sky can come down, the earth can go up, my hair on my face will never go off. That is the fact. After we got married, she never mentioned it. Why? Because she knew it's set in stone. It's not happening. It's not happening. And there are certain things about her that I know that is set in stone. Why? Because she told me this is the way it is. So until you don't have your certain things that you have to understand, for me this is a no-no. It can be the simplest thing. It could be Chalav Yisrael. It can be anything, Pashut, something, anything. But for you, that's a red flag. That's a no-no. Too many guy friends, too many girlfriends. But Rabbi, it's okay, they're just friends. Yes. They are just friends until the Satan comes. Rabbi say there is no such thing. Goyim even say this. They ask this Goy, I don't want to mention his name, but I'm going to say it's Steve Harvey. You know Steve Harvey?
Mm-hmm.
Goy. He's a Goy, but the Torah says, knowledge of Goyim, you can listen. He said something very, 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 very important. He said, I have no girlfriends. All my friends are male. Why? Like we're modern, 21st century. Because all men that like or have girlfriends, they all have one thing in their mind, and I don't need to publicize it. You can't put a mouse next to a cat and have the cat just stare at the mouse. He's gonna jump after that cat. The boys say, don't lie to yourselves. You're getting into the shidduch world, you can't be chilling with every girl on the block. We're just friends. She has to accept me for who I am. Rabbi, if she doesn't accept me, she's not open-minded. Oh yeah? I guarantee you she's gonna go out with another guy as a friend. You're gonna drop every single person on your phone faster than the speed of light. Don't fool yourself when you're starting to go out. You're serious, be serious all the way. With this I finished, Rabotai. This is the first class of 6 or 7. Now I'm thinking it might really have to be 7. You asked a good question. I will answer to you anyways, even though it's not made for this class, but I'll answer to you anyways. We're not up to the first date. Next year is going to be talking about how to even find someone. You know, there are many, many issues with finding a shidduch. Especially in our community, we want to make our parents happy and put our needs away, and some people the opposite. And a lot of people I know are not married until today because they're too busy still worrying about Abba and Ima's needs over their own needs. It's a chirum. It's not a kibud ava'em at this point. It's not a kibud ava'em, Rabotai. I know a guy that's married. He's not married. He's a single guy. He's in his late 30s. He's still taking care of mommy. Why?
Why not?
He has to get married. He can't get married. He can't get married because of this issue. It's a long story. But Bonagid, the mother is not latching off of him. She's stuck. She said, you want to get married, you have to move into my house. Can you imagine what this guy's going through? He's not going through hell. He's beyond hell already. He passed Kafak hell already. They opened a new gate for him, and it's not funny. We're laughing about it. And you know what? There are so many people that are going through this. A person has to start dissecting what is really, what are these conditions I work on first. Now that's going to be next year. We have a long time before the first date.
I wasn't asking like that.
I know what you're asking. You're asking, do all these topics that we spoke about, do you all do it and bombard them like a interview in one day? Yo, what's your name? What's social security? Give me all your credit cards. What's your score? Can we get a mortgage right away? Yes, no? I'm not saying that. Definitely not. That's why in the middle of the show, what did I say? A man has to know how to represent himself. You can be on a date with someone for an hour and feel like you were with him for a year, and you can be on a date with a guy and you can feel like you didn't even get 5 minutes into the conversation. You're stuck at what do you want to get. That's it. That has nothing to do with anything. Of course, we'll discuss it. If a person feels that it's too much in one time, he has to vary what are the questions that are first, that needs to be discussed, that are more important, and then on the second day, the other questions. No one's saying to do it all in one time, but a person has to understand these fundamentals he must have. If you're not gonna have it, you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna go in blindly, and then when you get married, you're gonna try to find a pole to put a rope around. And I want to explain something to you. Marriage can be the worst thing or the best thing. I want you to never forget this. It could be the worst thing or it could be the best thing of your life. It's the worst thing if you pick a wrong partner, and it's the best thing if you pick the right partner. Because if you have the right partner, you're invincible. You are invincible. No one can ever stop you. And if you have the wrong partner, the thing that's in your 4 amot is what's going to take you down. And you won't be able to differentiate it until you know what you want, who you are. And I know people that are 40 years old, they're still trying to figure out what they want. That's the problem. Does anyone